Evening, welcome back to when I was delaying that intro because I was trying to tweet something, I could see Kerry just shaking her head like, oh, come on. What you waiting for?
No, every single time since that time that the whatever it was went down, every single time it takes like more than 5 seconds for you to start the intro, I think it's broken again. So it's your fault.
I can just see you shaking your head in the back. Like, what's going on here? But yeah, I can't believe this. Out with me already. Brain just got started. This is shocking. But yes, needed late for the last review of the season. It's quite sad, isn't it? We're last review of the season, or last preview of the season, I should say. Our last review show will be on Monday at 7 o'clock when we come to that one. I hate this time. I was just saying this. For those of you who's just joined from Tits Up, by the way, welcome again. Yes, you've got another hour of listening to me. I don't envy that. Fair play to you. 2 hours of listening to me talking. Hopefully these guys are going to do all the talking, but there we are. Anyway, so yes, good evening to all of you lot. But yeah, it's kind of a bit... I don't know. Is anyone feeling just? Well, obviously both just kind of that. But we are going to talk about the Ella Toone stuff as well. We'll start with that in just a second, and obviously talk about the Chelsea game. But yeah, obviously last game of the season. I guess how are you both feeling going into it? Because it's been a long season. Lots of ups and downs, lots of kind of disappointing results. But then we've had the high of the biggest high of we've ever had. On Sunday. So Barry, I'll start with yourself. How are you kind of feeling now? The season's drawing to a close, and it's one of the biggest games in the calendar is playing Chelsea at Old Trafford. It's quite a showpiece to end the season. But yeah, what's your kind of thoughts on this one?
I sort of feel a bit of both. I mean, if it was up for me, I would have football every single week. So you never want it to end really. But having said that, I am ready for a little bit of a break, as it's been a bit of a roller coaster, really, hasn't it? And you think about everything that we have managed this season, both good and bad, and it has just, I mean, it takes its toll on you. It really does. It takes its toll on the players. It's going to take its toll on you as well. That's how it works. So I am ready, I think, for a little bit of a break. I wouldn't want it to be the longest of breaks, but absolutely I am ready for one. And what a game we have got to finish off with. It's, I didn't think there was going to be too much riding on it from our point of view. But as it is, it's going to be massive now, because we could literally send Madam Hayes and co home with only their bus fare home, as in the old bullseye way of doing it. So I'm well looking forward to that. And it's no jeopardy for us, because if we lose, what have we lost? Not a lot, really. But if we win, how sweet would that be?
It would be so good, wouldn't it? I've just noticed as well, I forgot to say this at the start, but for those of you who may not have noticed, somebody said it on our last stream that we should change the background. We've never done this in all the years. We've changed a bit of a branding for you. So as you can see, obviously it covers up a lot of us because, it's in the background, but you have a look down, it's that side. FA Cup winners 2024. Obviously, if people didn't notice, the last background was of last year's cup final. We've changed it to this year's because, I didn't want to do a preview with last year's cup final when we're playing Chelsea this weekend. So I thought we'd get it changed already. We'd never do that. We'd never change mid-season, but we thought we'd do it and make an exception for this one. So that's why we've done it on that one. Kara, so just come to you then. As I just asked Barry, last game of the season, as we just said, it's been it's felt like a long season. As Barry said, it does take its toll. It's taken its toll on from a personal level, us on the channel a little bit, because it's been hard to be positive for a lot of it. But yeah, how are you feeling? The fact that it's the last game of the season and just your emotions around that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to miss this season, I think. Even though from a league point of view, it's been as a United fan, it's been so difficult. On a personal note for me, it's been the season I've got into covering football as a journalist, and it's been amazing. But, I want, as a fan, I think I personally always want there to be football on every week. I hate international breaks. We all know the players need rest, but I just find myself shuffling around the house what am I supposed to do? So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, because I think it'll be a fantastic game at Old Trafford. I think that there's a really good chance that we go in and give Chelsea a really good game, especially last time out at Lee, was amazing. And if we can go anywhere near that kind of performance again, I think the players will be ready to sort of go in and try to finish the season with a bang and like do ourselves justice after that performance last weekend as well. And obviously a lot of people have like a lot of people have seen like said in the comments already that it might be a few players last games, that sort of thing, like that I think makes it quite like emotional as well. So I'm looking forward to it on like a number of levels. Obviously it'll be a bit bittersweet, especially if it does end up being some players last game. But I think like to play at Old Trafford as well, usually I'm more one for playing at Lee than at Old Trafford because I just think it builds more of an atmosphere. But I think to be able to get, I think we're having the under-21s out with their trophy. We're obviously bringing the FA Cup out to parade around. I think to do that at Old Trafford will be such a great like advert for the women's teams and the women's side of the club. So looking forward to it. But yeah, the season coming to an end feels very like bittersweet. It feels almost like we've hit kind of the high at the end of the season. Now you're like, oh, I don't want to stop playing now. Like if you'd asked me in March after we lost to City, you'd been like, oh, do you want another few months of the season? I'd been like, no, we can call it now. But now I'm like, no, I want to keep going.
That you've literally just hit the nail on the head. I remember doing a show with Barron on another channel, and somebody asked me after that City game. It was like, so, is there any positives for you? I was like, yeah, we're one less game, closer to the end of the season, because that's how I felt at that time. I was like, I just can't wait for the season to end. Whereas now we've just won the FA Cup and everyone's elated. I'm like, I don't want the season to end now because we've just won the cup. It's such a good feeling and everything else. So yeah, I'm a bit kind of torn on how I feel about it a little bit. RC's reference what you just said there about the trophy presentation, that's going to be great. As you said, what a great advert for the women's team. Simon's talking about Sunday morning lines is the only plus side. 100%. That's my 6:30 starts to get up to LSV for a 12 o'clock game, and getting back at early hours of the morning from midweeks and things like that is I'm also my bank balance from traveling up and down the country following the team. Don't get me wrong, would never change it. It's the best thing in the world following the team, but yeah, I definitely think over the summer chance to reset, which is nice. Which is a bit annoying actually. Random off topic little moan for me. Going to a festival in June, thought great. I'm going there because I want to get away from football and everything else. They put an advert saying we're going to be showing the men's Euros throughout the. Look, great. I go there to get away from football, and all the big screens are going to be showing the football. Brilliant. So that's a bit annoying. Going to try and avoid
the thought
that.
of you at a music festival really makes me worry about what sort of absolute dross is going to be coming out over the speakers.
It's a man who eats a burger with a knife and fork. Like, how are you going to survive at a festival when you can't even touch a burger with your hands?
Exactly.
I really fear for you. I hope you're okay.
Who's headlining? Is it Pop World with Wheels on the Bus? Round, windscreen wiper, big lights.
I love the idea of people that are watching from TikTok that have just seen Barry and Keras for the first time. This is welcome to the channel. This is what we're like over here. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Yeah, funny you say that, Donna, about I hope Queen aren't play. Funny you say. I think there is a Queen tribute band on one of the lower stages, on like stage 3 or something. So yeah, I'll be staying away from that. People who are new to the channel are not going to get this at all.
I've got to apologise about this.
Before my time.
I do need to put an apology out because I missed out Burger King, and obviously they're a big part of it too. So for anybody who's watching from Burger King, I apologise. That I did not include them in the Pizza Hut song. I'm still not over.
Keras, you weren't on it for that, but you'd left at that point. But the fast food song, as it should be called, I call it the Pizza Hut song because I forgot what the name was, and that's the only bit of the song I could remember. So yeah, that happened, and I got slaughtered for it.
I'm going to message it to you, Keras, so you can do it for yourself because it's a nice little 60 seconds of 120 what they might do. I don't know.
Yeah,
will they?
I think they are. I think that's the plan. So, as we just said, big advert for the women's team, which is amazing on that one. Right, before we get into the game, we cannot ignore and like I said, those of you from the TikTok, we've just spent like 45 minutes talking about this, so I'm not going to say too much on it because everyone knows my thoughts by now, I'm sure. But Barry, today, Catherine reporting that Barcelona are weighing up going in for Ella Toone. Now, that's not a sentence I ever thought I would say, Barcelona and Ella Toone in the same conversation. This is split opinion on social media. A lot of people, like me, are very adamant Toone's just not leaving. Like, it's just not going to happen. But there is a doubt. Barca are the best team in Europe currently. You know, they could offer big wages. Could you see this ever happening, or do you think it's one of those where it's just going to be an interest and, you know, she's never going to end up leaving there?
I've changed my mind, Connor. I'm not pleased that the season's ending, because the minute the season ends, I have to make do with stupid rubbish like this. It does, honestly. There are people that love this transfer season. Transfer season for me is a bit like lunchtimes at school. Just like, ultimately, you just want them to be over, because you don't get the chance to just sit and be quiet. There's just people there all the time. No, listen. Number one, let's listen to the word in there. Barcelona are weighing up. People have got to write stuff, haven't they? Now, we know Catherine. I'm not suggesting for 1 second that she's just pulled it out of her back pocket and, you know, decided to write something up there. But it's very difficult to be too wrong on that one, isn't it? They're weighing it up. They're thinking about potentially doing. Any sensible person within football, if you ask them the question, would you like Ella Toone, will go, yeah. She could do something for us. But weighing up does not mean we are putting in. And this is the problem. This is I hate it so much. We're going to be in with everybody. Like, that's what happens. People want our players. We're going to be in there getting other ones. You know, Miedemar is leaving Arsenal, so no doubt we'll be linked potentially with speaking to her. You know, it's all exactly. See, Bon Matty's also looking at houses in Manchester. Why not make it up? It's like, that's, you know, I hate it. Transfer season is the time for people to get more followers. I mean, this is why I think I'm still on about 700, because I just shut down during this sort of thing. I hate it.
I'm not going to ask you next time. I'm just going to move on.
Listen, you wanted me to answer the question. I'm answering it. And my opinion with it is that it's bloody horrible and I hate it. But, like, it's not fun. It's not fun at all. She's not going anywhere. She's the only person we've got assigned till about 2037. You know, she likes living where she lives. She's, you know, you cut her, she bleeds Manchester United. There is just no way on God's green earth Ella Toone is going anywhere. Why would she?
No, I agree.
Why would she? Why would she leave United?
Trophies and money.
Yeah,
is
no,
the only thing I think of.
I mean, obviously, like, anyone getting an offer from Barcelona, I think it would be naive to say that you wouldn't at least consider it. But it's, as Barry said, like, first of all, it's not an offer; it's weighing up, right? And, like, it's just in the same way as someone just said in the chat, we're interested in signing Sophia Smith. It's like, yeah, I'm interested in becoming a millionaire, but, like, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. If we do sign Sophia Smith, fantastic, and I'll eat my words and look like an idiot. But do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think Toone is going anywhere. Like, it's, as Barry said, I think she's completely committed to the club. Also, she's under contract. Like, this is the thing. It's not the same as last summer when we were saying, oh, Russo, you know, we think Russo will stay because this, and this, and because she's committed to the club. But also she was leaving on a free and we hadn't got her under contract. Toone's under contract till 2026, and presumably Barcelona will have to give us a lot of money if they want to get her out of that, which I think is unlikely. So I am hoping that this is just the start of, again, I agree with Barry, I hate transfer season. So I'm going to have to get over it if I want to be a football journalist. But yeah, I think it's hopefully just the start of a lot of rumours going around that people will not be particularly interested in. I think Toone's United through and through. So hopefully this will be a very short conversation.
This is comment of the night, by
Oh, that's comment of the day, and it's not going to get beaten. For context, if you don't know, this man's got less hair on his head than I do, hence why he would need a trip to Turkey or Wayne Rooney's hair transplant specialist. That was unbelievable. And also, the thing about Toone is she's not exactly poor. You know, she's one of the top lionesses. She's got loads going on in terms of sponsorship. She's just got her own podcast, and she's one of the most recognisable faces. She doesn't need to go for the money. There's not going to be a huge amount more that she can get from that. Her life is here. Her family's here. Her nan's over here. I mean, we very rarely talk about relationships on this channel, but her boyfriend's very clearly over here. I don't see any part of Ella Toone that isn't a homebird. She wants to be in England with her family, surrounded by the people that she loves. I don't feel that she's interested for 1 second in travelling over to Spain or Italy or anywhere else. She doesn't mind going there for her job, to play a game every now and again. It's a non-starter, this one.
Yeah, no, and JJ's made a really good point as well, which is, can Barca even pay her? We're talking about it would have to be a big it could be a big wage increase or whatever. Barca are currently, by the look of things, having to make some difficult decisions around new contracts and around whether certain players stay. So whether they're in the business of buying out probably one of what I would say is it would be one of the most expensive transfers they could probably make from the WSL. I think it doesn't make a lot of sense for them either. And I also don't particularly think they need her. I know they're Barcelona and they'll always pushing to improve, but I think to say that they've not got plenty of strong attacking midfielders is probably a little bit harsh on them. So I don't think they're exactly they're not desperate for a player like her either.
No, I agree. I think if they were to even bid for it, it would be world record kind of level. They'd have to even, and United would never accept it anyway. But yeah, no, I think, and I don't take my word for this, this is purely a thing. I've not spoke to anyone about this, in the know. But I think this is probably started because Alexia Putellas' contract was on the rocks. They didn't quite know where it was going to go, and they probably looked, if she's not going to sign, we need to look at replacements. And Ella Toone was probably on that list, and that's probably where this has come from. If Putellas wasn't going to sign, that's obviously come out in the last couple of days that Putellas is now staying, and that's probably where I think this has come from. Which, as I said, this isn't the first time Barca have been after our players that has maybe been public or not. Barca look at everybody; they've got scouts all over the place. So. And as these two have both said as well, Ella Toone's one of the biggest names in Europe right now, in terms of her profile and everything else. So, yeah, I'm not worried. It's just one of those. I have to ask because it's the story of the day. But at the end of the day, she's not going anywhere. I'm very confident of sitting on here saying that she's not leaving. So yeah, it's one of those.
But I'll see what she did. It would be for a world record transfer fee. She wouldn't be going for the peanuts that we sell for, because she's
easily, yeah.
So
well, that's what we've both said. 2026. It's another 2 years. It would have. What's the world record at the moment? 800,000. It would be for me. I made a TikTok about this about 3 months ago. Who would be the first £1 million player? This would be it for me. I think it would have to be over $1 million for United to even consider anything like that. So. I mean, yeah, 10 million and Bon Massive, that's the deal. What they want. Then, fair enough.
Yeah, I take that, to be fair. You can clone her for that amount of money.
I would drive her to Barcelona myself for 10 million and Bon Massive. Not because, we don't like Toone, but 10 million, that'd do a lot for the club.
RC's comment above as well. I don't want to bring that on screen, but that did make me laugh. Oh dear, poor her. Anyway, let's see what some of the comments then before we go to the game itself. Yeah, you talked about JJ's comment. Becky saying we need to be big money. Yeah, Barca are broke anyway. Agree, James. Donna's talking about would she even play? That's kind of what we said, isn't it? It's one of those. Catherine says one to keep an eye on. To be honest, I don't expect more to come of this. Barca may register an interest to try and unsettle the player because, believe it or not, Barca do that a lot. They like to throw their name in then just to unsettle players to see if they'll move. So they may do that. I don't think it's going to be any more than that. If you're talking about players leaving, I would be looking elsewhere. And we're going to get onto that because someone, I think George asked us earlier on, or somebody did. It might have been, no, Ema put it as well about players' last games this weekend. So we'll get into all of that a bit later on. But let's talk about the... I swear to God. For people who don't... it's the old Harry Maguire thing all over again, isn't it? And I can't believe you still remember this from years ago. I actually changed my Twitter handle for like about a month because I lost. Obviously, I said if we lose the Europa League final under Ollie, for people who don't remember, I changed my Twitter at to Slabhead, I think it was, or like Harry Maguire something. And obviously, we lost. So I had to change my Twitter at for a month. So yeah, that's where that came from. Anyway, right, playing on Saturday. Big game, isn't it? At Old Trafford. I don't know what the attendance is looking like. I don't think it's going to be as big as the City one in terms of attendance, things like that. Obviously, from our point of view, there's nothing riding on it. For Chelsea, there's a lot riding on it because they're going for the title in Emma Hayes' last game. Barry, what's your feelings, I guess, about this individual game? You know, obviously, we played Chelsea not so long back, obviously beat them for the very first time. What do you think we would have learned from that one going into this one? And I guess, scrap that question. Do you think there's going to be a bit of a hangover from Wembley, quite literally in some players' cases, from that one going into this one? And does that make you a little bit worried, or do you not really mind what the result is? Because, you know, ultimately, we don't want to get battered, do we? We don't want to go into this game and get absolutely turned over at Old Trafford. But at the same time, does it matter to you too much if we lose the game? Or like, what's your feelings around that kind of conversation going into this weekend?
I mean, technically, no. I mean, you know, I said before, the FA Cup final, that for me, fourth or fifth is irrelevant, really. What mattered was bringing home the FA Cup. And I said that if we did that, most people would be content because the FA Cup win would sort of paper over the fact that it would be our lowest finish in the WSL. But having said all of that, of course I want to beat Chelsea. I think if you're talking about progression, and if Mark Skinner's going to be serious about talking about progressing and wanting to do better, then the mentality needs to be, we've beaten Chelsea, now we need to start getting into their heads. Now it needs to be a case of when Chelsea come next season and they've got a new manager as well, all of a sudden, if we've had a win and a win, so we've knocked them out of the cup, and then we've stopped them potentially, because, I mean, obviously, City need to go on and beat Villa in order to win the league as well, or even draw if we win. But we could potentially be the ones that stop them from winning the league as well. And I think mentally, all of a sudden, that becomes a thing for Chelsea to have to worry about rather than for us. You know, we go into next season, instead of the question being, can Manchester United beat Chelsea? It just becomes will. And the change in narrative there is absolutely massive. That ability to be able to talk about, well, actually, we've won the last two. Think about it. Before that FA Cup semi-final, we've always gone into the game going, this is our bogey team. We can't beat them. We've never beaten Chelsea. And as much as potentially finishing fifth may not be the best, and as much as our performances against the teams in the top five have not been good enough, the end of the season being stronger than the rest of the season, I think would be a massive takeaway. And when you're then talking to people that have got contracts that need to be renegotiated, people that are running out of it, including our captain, Katie Zellum, when you can turn around and say, well, look, all right, it's not been a great season. We've not done what we wanted to do in the league. But do you know what? We won the FA Cup. We've beaten Chelsea twice, something we've never done before. It's a club that's showing now the shoots of recovery. And, you know, we've done the 30 games perhaps that all the players need to do for their induction process. So we've done all of that. All of a sudden, it's a positive way. So although it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things in terms of where we finish, I think it really matters in terms of laying down a marker ready for next season. You know, I joke about, wouldn't it be funny if Chelsea win nothing? I mean, of course, there is. I will laugh. I will laugh heartily. But it's not just about that. You know, my focus is on Manchester United and what I want. What I really, really want is for Manchester United to be the team that are parading the FA Cup around Old Trafford, and not Chelsea having the last laugh by parading the Premier League or the Women's Super League around our stadium at the end, because that's still Chelsea. What I want is them to have that feeling that I'd said a few weeks ago. I want them to have that feeling of watching us with our trophy and being successful, the one that we stopped them getting, and them knowing that just down the road, the same thing's happening for Manchester City, and that Chelsea are now having their grip, their vice-like grip on this league slowly loosened. And that is genuinely what I want to see. Yes.
No, this is going to be a really weird comparison, but stick with me. But I think back to what you're saying about, and Karis, I'll come to you on this, about carrying momentum into next season. For those of you who watch F1, Mercedes dominated the 2020 season. You know, they won pretty much every race in that season, absolutely blissed it. Hamilton obviously won the championship. Max Verstappen won the last race of the season against, Mercedes were expected to win everything and everything else. Max wins it on the last race of the season and then goes into next season. Obviously, the car needed to be there, but then obviously went on and won the 2021 championship, because that belief was there, knowing that you can actually beat this Mercedes car and go into and carry that momentum from the last race into the next one. And Keris, I come to you on that very point in terms of, do you think it is that, that's the importance? Obviously, a couple of people, and Barry just mentioned it there, George said earlier on, I don't want them to lift the trophy at Old Trafford because it takes a little bit of shine off the FA Cup, because we're going to do this pre-game. It sounds like United are going to do the FA Cup thing pre-game. If we then do that, lose, then Chelsea lift the WSL, it's like, oh, well, that's a bit annoying, isn't it? Because it's just kind of taking that bit away. So do you think that's the key here? That obviously we don't want Chelsea to lift it in front of us, but also take that momentum into next season, going, well, we've beat you in the last two, and now we can really push on for the league next year.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, it's the first thing you asked Barry was like, what do you think we've learned from the game? And really simply, like, we've learned that we can actually beat Chelsea, I think. Like, that's the main takeaway for me. Is, like you said, it's just that psychological barrier before where we just were not able to beat them. So I think there's those two elements that you've mentioned. First of all, is that statement of intent of, because rival fans are obviously all over Twitter going, oh, we played dirty, we scammed a win and whatever. First of all, I think that's all, in my personal humble opinion, rubbish. But second of all, it would be nice to just put paid to that by beating them again and saying, right, we can compete consistently with these top teams on the same kind of scale that we were doing like last season against City and Arsenal, for instance. So it's a statement of intent for next season. Obviously, it's important going into contract negotiations to be able to show people that, we're serious about this. We're not going to like rest on our laurels with the FA Cup. We want to use that as like a springboard to go on to better things. And what better way to do that than celebrate another win over the team that we've struggled so much against at Old Trafford and parade our FA Cup. But I think even though it's been a disappointing season in the league, I think the only way it could be a more perfect ending is obviously a higher league table finish. But with that kind of off the cards, it would be the perfect way to end the season. Obviously, there's plenty of people saying like the elephant in the room in the comments of, if we beat Chelsea, does it hand City the league? And my thoughts on that is, yes, that is obviously a massive pain, but also I don't have to see it. Whereas if Chelsea win the league, I have to see it because I'm sat there watching it. If City win the league, then I can just turn my phone off until I get home, and then my lovely partner, who's a City fan, will remind me about it. But other than that, like, if City win the league, then I can just ignore it for a few days. Whereas if Chelsea win the league in front of my eyes, then I can't really be in denial about it. So, yeah, I think it's important for pride reasons, and it's important for like us as a club to show that we are still, we're not a one-hit wonder in the same way as a lot of people were saying, last season they overachieved, they're just not that kind of club yet. I think it's our chance to kind of hit back at that narrative a bit. It can't be last season we overachieved and this season winning the FA Cup we overachieved. There's only so many times we can overachieve before people have to admit that we're a proper big club. So yeah, I think it's important just for reasons of like our status in the league.
And there's just a few people going on the comments at the minute saying, well, if they do lift the trophy at Old Trafford, there'll be nobody here anyway because, they've all gone. Who's going to stay and watch it? It's not the point. The point for me is it's Old Trafford. Old Trafford is the home of Manchester United.
The players will have to watch it as well. Just sorry to interject. The players will stay on the pitch and watch it.
Absolutely. The players will have to watch it. We do not want them. It's our ground. The only team that should be lifting trophies up at Old Trafford is Manchester United Football Club and their derivatives. It should never, ever be another club doing that. That's an assault on us as a club if we're allowing clubs to come into our backyard and then parade trophies around. Whether we're there to watch it or not, it's irrelevant. It's going to be all over our Twitter. If you think you're getting away from it just because you're not physically in Old Trafford, you won't. It's going to be everywhere. So, for me, that's the biggest thing of all. You don't let your rivals, if you're serious about football, you don't let them come into your backyard and start lifting. It's one thing for us to go to Kings Meadow and we all stayed and watched that. And that wasn't our ground, was it? And why did we stay and watch that? Did we stay and watch it because we were watching that? Or did we stay and watch it because we were showing solidarity to our team and how well they'd done? And I can't imagine that the club that we've got and the supporters that we've got are all just sitting there and going, yeah, we'll just leave the girls to it now. At the end of the season, they're going to want to be clapping those girls off the pitch and saying goodbye to some of them because some of them aren't going to be staying, So we just don't want it. It will put such a damp squib on the end of the day that, for the girls as well, are they really going to want to come out of Old Trafford and be signing and taking photos and doing all that sort of stuff? No, they're just going to get in the car, aren't they, and go, it's happened again. But our nose is rubbed in it again. We don't need it. Mark Skinner spoke about we want that to be us next year. Well, it's not. So we don't want it to be us next year watching them again.
Well, that's it. You think of the last 3 years, potentially, like if let's say that the worst scenario does happen and we lose, obviously Chelsea beat us, whatever, win the title, that will be 21-22. We watch Chelsea lift the title at Kings Meadow. Last season, we get pipped on the last day, against Chelsea for the title. And then this season, watch them lift it again. No chance. I'm not fussed about what City do at Villa Park. I just want us to win our game. And do obviously, City win league to me it's irrelevant. I said this about the men's the other day when Spurs and Arsenal, like Spurs celebrating like Arsenal, like losing because Arsenal are going to like what?
Yeah,
to me,
I was just about to say
to win, like whoever we're playing.
I was just about to say, like Emma raised that in the comments as well about like comparing it to the men's team the other week with like. Like one of my mates was asking me as well, like, do you really want to beat Arsenal? Do you really want to beat Arsenal and hand the title to City? It's like, yes. Because I'm not here to stop City winning. I'm here for United to win. Like I find it's my personal like soapbox in football that I find such like an infuriating mentality of like wanting other teams to beat you so that your rivals don't win. But yeah,
if we wanted to stop and win the league, that should have been us. Like we should have made sure we played better to stop them winning it. It's not on us to deny them other team by losing our games. So then, no, like we should have been fighting up. If we wanted to stop City win the league, we should have won our games against them in Chelsea, in the league and Arsenal, and pushed up to fight for that title ourselves, not rely on other teams. So, yeah, I think we're all agree there. We all want us to win on that one. Right, Barry, you raised the point about some players' last games. Ema said this right at the start of the show, ready for some teary players on Saturday, but from who? So I guess that is the question. And every time I do a TikTok live, all of the questions are about players leaving and who we should be looking out for and that kind of thing. Obviously, last season we knew looking at Honor that she was going. It was very obvious looking at her post game against Liverpool. So there's going to be eagle eyes, particularly on the likes of Mary, Zellum, you've already mentioned as well, still out of contract, Garcia, Keita Paris, obviously Rachel Williams, and there's going to be other players as well that are under contract that, are potentially leaving as well that we are maybe not aware of. Barry, who are you going to have your eyes on, so to speak, or who do you think, I don't know what the question is in terms of who you think maybe is most likely to leave after this weekend, but and also like I don't know what the question is, but like kind of in and around that, players like.
Well, it feels like you just asked me who do I think is leaving, as if I'm some sort of transfer who's in the know. So I'm going to pretend that I am. I've been talking to my multitude of contacts across the women's football universe, and I've come up with the following: Mary Epps is going to stay. I've got this funny feeling that she's not going anywhere. Hannah's staying. Letitia's staying. We know that because she signed a contract. You don't need to be Mystic Meg for that one. Millie Turner, she's staying. Jay Riviere, staying. Zellum, staying. I don't think she's going to go. But as I said to John Commode when I was talking to him the other day, if there was anyone in this team who I would not support going, because that seems like the wrong word, but who I can understand going, it would be her. If she's got an offer, or if there are people abroad, for example, that are wanting Katie to go and join them, I could understand why she would want to. You know, it takes the wrong way, Katie, but she's not getting any younger. And she may only have a couple of contracts left within her. And so as a result, does she just want to spend all of her life at Manchester United, or does she want to have the chance to experience playing in another country and doing different things like that? And, you know, you kind of have to accept that some people might want to do that. So if that did come about, I'd be sad, obviously, because she's my favourite one. But equally, I'd be very pleased to see her tear it up in another league, while people just keep telling her how rubbish she is and how she shouldn't be playing football. Because I'll tell you what, for someone who's so bad, my God, she's good. But anyway, so Zellum's staying. Hayley Ladd. I tell you what, if she doesn't get some game time, I can see her doing the foxtrot. So that could happen. She's not going on Strictly Come Dancing. Don't be stupid, Connor. Who else? Nolsund, I reckon she'll probably get the Viking boat back. I can see her going off. Guerrero, I mean, G and O starts and ends her names. Why would you want to stay? She's had about as much football as I have this season, so she's off. She'll be gone. Hinata will stay. Rachel Williams, seems obvious to me she's staying. The way that she was talking after the cup final made it sound as though she was here for another year, and she's not the sort of person that talks in riddles. She's about as straight talking as they come. So I'd imagine she's staying. Leah Galton staying. The hospital's nearby, so she's going to have to for a bit. And then we'll see what happens after that. But I think she'll stay. Lucia Garcia, I reckon she'll be saying bye-bye too, and travelling off somewhere else. Anybody else? Nikita Paris, I'd like her to stay. But I don't think she will. I think, Foxtrot Oscar, brilliant. What you could say about Nikita is that she's proven the doubters wrong. She wanted to get herself back into the England team. She didn't quite manage that, but my argument would be she's been the most informed striker for England, or in England rather. So I think she probably should have been given some time. But yeah, I can see Keats leaving as well, if I'm being honest. PTJ, I don't know. It was very weird watching the FA Cup final, kind of very weird, because when the trophy was coming down, she didn't lift it. She didn't touch it. It was almost like I couldn't work out if that was part of her just feeling like she didn't feel like she'd earned it because she barely played and hadn't played, I don't think.
There was also, sorry to interrupt, that's just reminded me on Fallon. I think 2 people tweeted us asking us to tweet pictures of Fallon, with the trophy. There's not a picture of Fallon. There's 4 pictures of Fallon across the whole thing in the FA Cup final. And I found that really weird. Like, even players that haven't played in the game or haven't played, there was pictures of all of it, even the youngsters, and everything else. Fallon, there was nothing. It was the one player I couldn't find any photos for, which I found was really weird.
Absolutely. It was really odd. And like I say, it was just strange watching her face. I mean, she was happy. She was clapping. She wasn't being mardy or anything like that. But I don't know. I don't know if it was just that she didn't feel like she'd earned it, so therefore she didn't want to lift it. Maybe it was a professional pride. Or maybe she's just not feeling part of it. I don't know. But that felt really, really sad. So I don't know if she'll stay or go. Grace is coming back whether she wants to or not. I've told you all. I told her she had to come back. She didn't look like she was going to argue. So she's coming back. No problems there. Emma Watson, obviously, she's better. She'll be fine. Aoife Mannion, see you later. She'll be off. And not for any reason. I mean, I think that should be from our point of view, to be honest with you, because we've barely seen her all season. And again, she's no one who's not getting any younger. We need to get some younger defenders in on that one. So I think that's pretty much covered just about everybody. Any further questions, please inquire within.
Keris, I'll throw it over to you then. So, as I said, we've got how many we got? 5 or 6 out of contract. What do you reckon we're looking at? For a player's kind of last game coming on Saturday.
Right. So who's our out of contract? Garcia, Williams, Selim. Who else is even out of contract?
Mary Keats.
Oh yeah, Mary
Mallard.
Keats and Mallard. Yeah. So tackling those in sort of reverse order. Mallard, I am optimistic about staying and hope that she will stay. I think as I've said so many times, I think we yet to see the best of her. I think she's been fantastic, and we still haven't got her full potential out. And she seems like she absolutely loves it here, which is really, really nice. Like her celebrations, her celebrations lifting the cup in front of the crowd last weekend were like one of my highlights of the whole day. So I will be absolutely gutted to see her go. And I'm cautiously optimistic that we will not see her go. I genuinely have no clue. Like, I've given up trying to guess what's going on with Mario. Some people talking about Arsenal maybe making room for her. I think that is, I would be very surprised by that from what the general kind of consensus seems to be. They're going to be going in for Van Domselaar, which I think is probably actually a smart move by them. I think, the wage bill would probably be considerably lower for Van Domselaar. I think if Mary was going to move, it would probably be somewhere abroad. But I mean, who knows? Who else we got? Zellum, again, so hard to read. Absolutely no idea. If you'd asked me at the start of the season, is she going to renew? I'd have been like, yeah, of course she's going to renew. The fact that it's now late May and we haven't had anything is bizarre. So again, like, who's got a clue? Garcia, I mean, it's such a difficult one because she looked I felt really positive on when the hell it was Sunday, seeing her like celebration, seeing how happy she was, seeing how passionate she seemed for the club. I felt really positive. Now that that kind of rose tinted like glasses has worn off, then I kind of returned to how I felt before, which is that I think that she would take a move. Who else is even left after that? Who have I missed? Williams, I think, will be staying. I completely agree. I think that she does her job for us well, but I also don't think there's that many clubs in the WSL who are in the market for someone who does that job. I think she does it very well for us, but I don't know that anyone else is going to want to offer her a particularly stable contract just because of like the amount of contracts she's realistically, possibly. I mean, God knows she's a machine, but we don't know how many contracts she's got left in her. And then who's left after that? Keats, I think, will stay. Just because I think she's been really good this season. I think she's growing at United. I don't think that, unfortunately for her, I don't think staying or going is going to make any difference in terms of international duty. I think she's been really hard done to this year in terms of England duty, not getting called up as much as, her form would kind of suggest. But I think that we quite often talk about, do players actually progress at United? And like, are we seen as a club where players go to progress, or are we seen as a club where players go to sort of play and drop in, drop out? And, I think you can argue that she is probably one of our best case studies for someone who has really, really thrived in our setup. So I think that we need to, have her as that experienced and level-headed and quality kind of element of our front three, and I really hope that we make that clear to her. So yeah, is that everyone? Hopefully we don't let anyone go on a free, I beg, but I know there'll be at least one. So
yeah, I think I'm in agreement. People know, I guess, my thought. I think we're going to get what can I say? What I'm finding this really hard. What I will say is, I wish the players that United know are leaving, I wish we would do what Arsenal have done and announce them before the final game, because I'm telling you now, there are players that they know are leaving. I wish they would announce it like Arsenal. Arsenal, the reason they are doing it is because of like giving them a farewell, on the final day. There'll be one, I'm sure, tomorrow as well, coming from an Arsenal point of view, another outgoing that, they know of as well. I don't know why United don't do that. I wish we would, because I don't get me wrong, there's some players like Mary and players like that. I think that honestly can go either way, so you can't announce something that you don't know. But I feel like like Ty said, Chelsea did exactly the same, with Fran and Mara and so on. Like they know they're leaving, so announce it. Eames obviously mentioned with the men's side, Varane. Like I don't know. For me, it's like I wish we would just do that. They knew last year about Honor and Alessia, didn't do it then either. It's a bit of, I don't know. That's my only bugbear I've got with it. I wish they would with the players.
Because then it gives us a chance to say goodbye, and I think that's the thing is that I mean, obviously Russo and Honor went. We all knew really that Honor was going, so that wasn't too bad. But they wait till after the game, and it's like it's too late by then. You can't go, oh, quick, let's run back and say goodbye. Yeah, oh, she's gone.
I think, especially at Old Trafford as well, with it being a bigger crowd and everything else, and everything. I don't know. I would personally, and I think most people agree that. As I say, I don't blame the club for any that they don't know, because there are a few that are still like up in the air. Like, and I get that you can't. That's something you don't know. But this also shows as well, if you get your business done early enough and get your contract sorted that are signed and that the ones that aren't, you wouldn't be in this position, because then who's staying and who isn't. We're still in that situation. We've got 2 or 3 contracts where we're like, well, we don't know. Like, it still can go either way.
I think like last year at Prenton Park on the last day of the season, like watching like Honor and Alessia was like painful, because they're coming around like giving all the fans like a massive round of applause, and you're trying to like read something in their expression that tells you one way or another. Like, I do not want to spend my Saturday trying to like scrutinize and psychoanalyze people's faces. I want to just, especially if I don't think that Zellum, I hope, touch wood, that Zellum won't leave. But especially if someone like Katie Zellum were to leave, and you're to not get the opportunity for the fans to say goodbye to her when we've got the chance to do that at Old Trafford, would just seem like such a crying shame. So I agree with you, Connor, in that like the players that we know are leaving, come out and say so now and make sure we get a chance to say goodbye to them properly, because maybe it is sentimental. But at the end of the day, like, we saw it on the men's side with Varane the other night, like sat in the centre circle, taking in Old Trafford. Like, the players should have a chance to do that as well.
Yeah. Anyway, for Fabrizio Romano, thank you.
Oh God.
How long were you working on that one, Barry?
10 seconds. That's why I said it wrong. Because it's Quizio and I meant Quizio. Didn't go well. Move on. Connor, why don't you, instead of telling us what you know or think you know, why don't you just tell us what you want? Because
that's an easier way around for me, actually. I can do that. What do I want? I'd like them all to stay, because I like this squad of players.
Sure. Well done. Next question.
But I think if I was being like business-like, I would probably. Oh, I don't know. There's players I would let go. And I think Keats is probably the one that's out of contract, even though she's been our top scorer. I think she's probably the one I would look at and go. I think TJ or somebody said it a second ago. She's got a winner's medal now. That's why she rejected the move to America. Sorry if it wasn't TJ. Someone definitely said it a bit earlier on. No, sorry, it wasn't TJ. It was Michael. Do apologise. She's got a winner's medal now. That's what she wanted. I think when the NWSL offer, if it comes back in again, I think she probably goes. So I think her potentially. I would keep hold of Lucia after the season she's had. I just don't think. My personal opinion is that I don't think we will. So yeah, I think it's a tough one, but I've kind of changed my tune. I said this on TikTok earlier. I think with the likes of Mary Earps, I think we all said at the start of the season it was frustrating the way she was acting and what was happening. I'm almost like I want her to stay now. I think she's done well in the second half of the season. She looked a lot happier with the squad, and I think just from a United and her point of view, Mallard, yes, she's the one. I said this earlier. I would sacrifice another incoming over, if it meant we kept Mallard. 100%. If it meant we had less money for the window, don't care. Just get that deal done and keep her at United, because she is everything that we want in a player. You know, you see her passion for the club. She's an exceptional footballer as well. It's everything you want. You know, yeah, that'll be the one. What Barry's asking there, what do I want? Mallard staying. Out of all of the ones that are out of contract and done, Mallard, Zell, and Lucy will be the three that I'd be really looking to keep. But yeah. Becky, do we have a buy option, an option to buy a Mallard? We do. It's complicated. I don't know if I can explain out here. There is one in our contract, yeah, but it's really complicated.
Do you remember when that used to be what you could put as your Facebook status? It's complicated.
What's on your mind? They just put it's complicated.
Those are the days. What's on your mind you don't want to know, mate?
Oh dear. But yeah, Mel Williams. That's what I mean. She's bleeds United, and she's yeah. That one's gonna hurt. You know, if she doesn't come back to us next season, I think that will. A lot of people are talking about Lucia, and I understand that. She's a fan's favorite as well. For me, it'll be Melvin. If she doesn't come back, that's gonna hit like Honor and Vilda for me personally when she went. But there we are. As I said, we'll see. We'll be analysing every. You bet your bottom that I'll be filming them all, like zooming in, like so have a look at the reactions. How how emotional are they? How are they clapping the fans and doing all of that? But there we are. Right. Speaking of the lineup, then. And things like that in terms of who we think is going to play and all those kind of things. Now, obviously, it's last game of the season, so rotation for next games is pointless because we're there now. We're at the last game. But I want to kind of phrase the question. Barry, you said before the final, I think it was the Liverpool game or the Leicester one, when you said you'd rotate so players have got something to fight for the, fighting for their spot in the final. Do you think there's maybe an element in this game? The players that played in the final have obviously had that moment. I'm not suggesting for 1 second they're down tools a little bit, but their mindset has probably switched. Whereas for some of these fringe players, would you be looking at some of those players and going, actually, this is your chance. Go and prove, because there's no big risk on the game. They can go and express themselves a little bit. Would you be looking to some of those players that maybe haven't had minutes, or would you just go, strongest 11 again?
I'm just going to do it. And as I've said to you before, I'm tired of telling him how to do his job and him not listening. So that's up to him. If it were me, I would be wanting to change it up a bit. There's part of me that thinks, do we put the same team out that won in the semi-final? But the thing about the semi-final was I think we caught them a little bit on surprise. They didn't see the idea of Rachel Williams starting as being something that we were going to do. And I just think that for the first time, we were on them. Tactically, we were on them. We'd surprised them. We'd given them something they weren't necessarily expecting. And I feel like we kind of need to do that again. We need to change it up a bit, do something different that's going to not be easily guessable by Chelsea, because then that gives us the opportunity to try and catch them again. The players, I think, will be fine. Whoever he chooses, it's the last game at the end of the day. So, I don't think there's too much of an issue there one way or the other. I think the most important thing will be the defence, and we have to have a balanced defence. Jade's got to start and Hannah's got to start. I think as long as our back five is the back five that we normally have, then he can afford to play Tinker, Taylor and Spy with the midfield. He can do all of that. What?
I've never heard that in my life. What did you just say? Tinker what?
Tinker, Taylor, Spy. Well, because it's Tinker. You tinker with the team, didn't you? Tinker, Taylor, Spy.
Tinker, Taylor, Soldier, Spy, isn't it?
See, I was wondering what the other one was.
It's not relevant, but
unfortunately, the Soldier was called off to war, so it's only Tinker, Taylor, Spy for me at the moment. But yes, ordinarily the Soldier would have been there. She knew, see, and you didn't have a clue, Connor, which does not surprise me. No, I know. Oh, God. But anyway, yeah, long story short, make sure the back five's balanced as it should be. Don't go sticking Gemma Evans at left back just for the lulz. While we were stood there at Box Park, the song came on from Elton John and Kiki D, and I remember saying around to Rux and saying, "This is a song." And it was, it was "Don't Go Breaking My Heart," and I would probably change the lyrics from that to "Don't Start Gemma Evans at left back for the love of Christ." I think still fits.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, no, I don't know. Obviously, we know Galton's out. Mark's already said this in the press conference. She didn't look great, by the way, after the final. Obviously, being carried around, obviously in the boot and crutch. We hope that's not something too serious. And then, if there was any positive on it, it's probably come at the right time, being the end of the season for her. So at least she's got the full summer to recover on that one. Obviously, until we get to pre-season. Ian, yeah, I think I have. Honestly, I've learned so much just being on this channel. Just from people coming on, tell me how wrong I am and various other things. So, yeah, I've learned loads just by these guys on here. So there we go. There's another saying or film title that I've just Googled it. It is a film, isn't it? 2011. Look at that.
Sorry, what's this?
Oh, here comes another pun.
Leah.
I'm genuinely like, do you like the boot of a car?
No,
yeah,
the
that was the
boot
pun.
on her foot.
That's the
She
pun I
posted
knew.
in the boot.
In the boot on her foot, Leah Galton posts a picture of her wearing the boot on her foot, the medical
Oh,
boot.
like one of those.
Not the boot of a car.
Thank you.
Right.
I was very confused.
I could see from how concerned you looked. I immediately knew how you read it.
Instagram's gone to a new level if they're showing you the inside of their boot. It's inside. It's great.
Oh dear. No, before I come to you, Keris, on what you're starting level, there's a couple of questions that I just thought I'd come back to. That I completely forgot. Arsenal and I go, no, they are not going for Earps. I can assure you of that. That's something I can say on here. They will get Van Domselaar, I believe, on that one, so you don't need to worry about that. Has Roy McCuddy signed for Barca? No, she hasn't, but she will do, I think, is the short answer to that one. And then, Puzzling Times just mentioned about Player of the Season, and it's just reminded me, so I've literally just tweeted this. So, we obviously do our Player of the Season awards on here, as obviously United do as well. But we do ours on here. Everyone, if you go and hop over to Twitter, not now, do it after the show, so you continue watching us for the next kind of 15 minutes. Everyone gets 2 votes for your Player of the Season, for your Goal of the Season. We'll do a show on this in probably a week on Monday. When we come back round to do it. If anyone's watched this channel for a couple of years, we did it last year, the year before. Everyone's got 2 votes. We put them all together, and then we come back and do a show on it where we reveal the top 5. Obviously, the top 3 then get a nice little fancy graphic on that one. But the top 5 and everyone can get a vote on that one. So we'll stick that on TikTok as well, and Instagram and everything else. But yeah, go and get your votes over there after this show, and we'll start adding those to the list. But I'll remind you of that every show that we do in the middle of those. But yes, on that one. Keris, back to the starting 11 then. Who would you have gone for? Who would you go for in this one? Would you be starting some of the players that maybe haven't played as much? What would you be kind of doing on that one?
I think if you're looking at it from the club's point of view, I think definitely not, because even though as fans, I think there's almost 2 sides to the fans, to be fair. I think there's the fans maybe like ourselves who've been at pretty much every game and would quite like to see your PTJ or your Guerrero getting in the starting lineup or getting some minutes. But then on the other hand, there's quite a lot of fans who maybe can't make it out to Lee all the time. And Old Trafford's more accessible for them, and they would be gutted if they did not get to see Mary Earps playing goal in what could be her last game at United, theoretically. So I think from the club's point of view, that whether they should bear it in mind or not, that sort of commercial side of it, I think that is something they'll be bearing in mind. And I also think for me, for the game, it's probably the right decision as well to play it kind of safe. So yeah, I'd be going with same back 5. Obviously, Galton out. I would be starting Mallard. I would have started Mallard on Sunday, to be fair. So I would start her in the 9. I would have Jace out on the wing and Garcia on the other wing. And I would have Zellum, Nelson and Tooney in the middle. Yeah, so not particularly interesting, not particularly varied, but that would be my kind of lineup. And obviously, depending on how the game's going, if by some miracle we're in a comfortable enough position to do so, or on the other hand, we're 4-0 down, which I don't think we will be, but if we were, and we want to get some rotation in and get some players some minutes, give I don't know, Alyssa Ahern or whoever, give them the chance to come out and play at like 5 minutes at Old Trafford, because someone's made the very good point that how much longer are we going to have Old Trafford for? We don't actually know. So some of these kids might not get the chance to play there again. That's something to, on a sentimental note, to bear in mind as well. But yeah, I'd be starting playing it like fairly safe.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough. On that one, I tend to agree. Yeah, I think I would be going for probably full strength. I think later on in the game, you bring teams players on. So as you just made a very good point, we don't know. With Old Trafford, obviously, it does look like they're moving in more in favour of moving away from Old Trafford, building a new stadium. So for some of these players, it would be a big moment. Just for a quick note to some of you, RC, I was literally just reading your player of the season and goal of the season vote. So everyone, you do get 2 votes per category. So for player of the season, 2 names, 2 players, and for goal of the season, you get 2 goals as well. So yes, so we do that to make sure that there's, because people always struggle to pick one, don't they? And it also means more players get votes across the board there as well. And goal of the season, to be fair, I think we know what it's going to be, but it'll be interesting to see some other shouts in there as well that we can all talk about on the show when we come around to doing that. So yeah, get all your votes in on that one. There's a question for you, Barry Gemmer. Puzzling times question, Barry. Yeah, no, I agree. Obviously, not going to be disagreeing on that one, am I? I don't even know what my next question was going to be. We're coming towards the end of the show, believe it or not, because I keep thinking about it being the last game, and I just get really sad that we're not going to do the preview show or talk about another game until like September, October, whenever the new season starts. Obviously, we'll have pre-season and things like that, but yeah, I think it's going to be a long season, a long summer though. I'll tell you. Going to be covering it all, though. Don't you worry about that. We're not just going to stop doing shows. Got a lot coming on that one. Nelinda's asking, what's your thoughts on the manager? Will he stay or not? I think he'll be in next season, if that's what you're asking. Yeah, that's my very short answer. I think he's going to be in next season. I think it's just formalities, sorting out the length of his contract, and I think that'll probably get signed. But we'll see. Who knows? Yeah, we'll see what happens as we get to the end of, on that one. What haven't we covered? We spoke about the last game. I get the last kind of, I guess, before we look at score predictions, things like that. We've had obviously the City, the criticism that was always labelled at United. And I remember, Barry, you doing a fans forum about this very thing last season, talking about we've not had any big games at Old Trafford this season. Obviously, we've had the derby earlier in the season. Didn't go quite to plan when we hosted City. And now, obviously, we've got this one. Arsenal have announced recently, obviously, most of their games next season are going to be at the Emirates. Can you see this being the norm going into next season? Our big games being at Old Trafford. Like I said, we've had 2 of the top 3 this season, Chelsea and City. Can you see potentially all 3 next season being at Old Trafford? And do you prefer it that way around?
I mean, I'll be honest with you, Connor. I can see.
I don't know what you're asking.
Yeah, down with this one. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking. Translate, as Pep would say. Don't know what's happened there, Dan. Dave. What's the question again? Big games. I can see a time, Connor. Hopefully not a million miles away, where actually all of the big football teams get the opportunity to play at the stadium that their club belongs to far more regularly than not. It makes complete sense. Why would you not? As I said before, it's Manchester United, and Manchester United play at Old Trafford. This idea that I know you've always had, you can't have every single team play. I hope not. Wow. I don't know what's happening here today. No, that's not you, Shane. Sorry. No, I did not. Absolutely not. Under no circumstances. I think that, yes, the youth teams, for example, playing at LSP, I understand those sorts of ideas. But football should be played at your club stadium. And listen, Old Trafford is a fantastic pitch. The rest of it might be struggling to to look like a proper stadium at the moment. But the ground, nothing wrong with it. It's a perfectly good pitch. It holds up to it. It's not a huge amount of games to add to the usual amount. I think the biggest problem we've got is just the scheduling, I suppose, more than anything else. How it is that you get, because again, like the whole idea that you had the FA Cup final being played, and then minutes later, you've got Manchester United men against Arsenal men kicking off, was crazy. And even that was causing a divide amongst some people within the fan base. There's people saying there's nothing wrong with LSV. There is something wrong with LSV, and that is that we want to see the game grow. And we're talking about equality. Like, I get it. I get the sentimentality behind it. I do. I understand that having 10,000 people in there makes a much louder noise, and it is therefore more of a cacophony and a more threatening, for want of a better term, environment for opposition fans to come into. Totally get that. Totally get it. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about the equality of the team to be able to play at the stadium that their club employs. And let's be honest, that is 100% about how the club decide to do that. Just don't open up the entire stadium if you know you're not going to sell it out. Don't stick 5,000 people in one end, 5,000 in another, and then end up with loads of empty seats. Just open the amount that you need to open, depending on the fixture you've got. But what I will say is that if you look at Arsenal and how they've managed to market it, the fact that, they're playing at the Emirates week in, week out now. That's what they're thinking of doing. And they're getting enough people in there to almost fill up the Emirates every single week. And you're trying to tell me that we can't do that. We're Manchester United. Now, I very rarely come on here and give it the we're Manchester United talk, because we're six in terms of how old we are as a football club. But I'm telling you now, you stick Manchester United women regularly at Old Trafford, the first thing you get is better protection for the players. It is absolutely crazy that our players have to walk to a car where they can have some, and forgive me, but some absolute crazies chasing after them down a road, getting in their cars if they wanted to. They've got to have everything locked, because you can just run right up by the side of the car. It wouldn't happen at Old Trafford. They keep you miles away from it, because they're looked after properly in terms of getting out. So for me, it's a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer. But at Old Trafford, it's the right place for them to be. They have the ability to be looked after better. It's what you would expect the club to do. And more importantly than any of those things, it's our home. It's the home of Manchester United. LSV isn't the home of Manchester United. You turn up, there's a Morrison's, you struggle to park, you take 8 hours to get out of the thing, and nobody really wants to be there from LSV either. They're not really that interested. The question went, where is the FA Cup going to go if we win it? Will it go to LSV or will it go to Old Trafford? The answer is Old Trafford. Why? Because that's the home of Manchester United, and it's time that the women came home.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think next season we should have more at Old Trafford. I like LSV purely just on a personal level. I can see more people I want to see because it's a smaller ground. But that's just a personal thing. I can see what, when you ask all the players, I think most of the players say that they want to go to Old Trafford. And I think the only way you start selling Old Trafford more is by playing there more regularly and not just having one game at the start of the year, one at the end, and things like that. If you start having more there, there's potential on that one. Keris, where do you stand on this one? As we said, this is our second big game at Old Trafford for the women, but this season's been the big stepping stone into that kind of area. What's your thoughts on that one going into next season?
Yeah, I mean, like, having been, going to Old Trafford all my life, my family's had season tickets in the Sir Alex Ferguson stand since like twice the time I've been alive. So like that it is the home of the club, and it always feels like the home of the club to me. And I found it a really weird adjustment at first, like going to watch United at Lee Sports Village felt really strange. Like it didn't feel like a home ground. It felt like an away day. Now it feels like home ground, and we've had we've had so many amazing games there. We've got so many incredible memories there, and there are days when I think that, like the Chelsea game, for instance, the Chelsea semi-final would not have been the same if it had been Old Trafford. In terms of like the growth of the game, it would have been a really good showpiece. But I think the atmosphere that it created, having that sort of like cauldron at Lee, was fantastic. But I agree with Barry that in terms of like the growth of the game in the long term, you want to see clubs pushing to make these changes rather than make excuses. Like it'd be so easy for any club. It would have been really easy for Arsenal to go, oh, it's just too much of pain with the scheduling. Like, we can't get the men on and the women on at the Emirates every time they've got a home game. It's just too much of a pain in the arse. But you know what? Fair play to them. They haven't done that. They've gone, yeah, no, we're going to make it work. And they might be one of our rivals, but fair play to them for that, because they're setting the standard, as they have done on a lot of things, for how clubs should be treating their women's teams. And I would love to see, I think next season we will see more games at Old Trafford. I think it'll be an interesting thing. Obviously, this whole redevelopment of the stadium, or knocking down of the stadium, or refurbishing or rebuilding, or whatever it's going to end up being, it'll be interesting to see what role the women's team plays in that. Whether that's a sort of City Academy Stadium type setup like we have now, like they have over at the SCI campus. That's something that I think I can see the club doing, and it's something I'm not as averse to, because it's still on like that Old Trafford land. It's still like the home of Manchester United. But I think moving the team to the Old Trafford area is so important, like on a practical level, for growing the audience as well, because Lee is just impossible to get to unless you've got a car. And it sounds whiny because I don't have a car, but it's such a if I want to go to Old Trafford from where I am in Sheffield, I walk for 20 minutes, get on a train, get a tram, and I'm at the stadium. If I want to go to Lee from Sheffield, I've got to either get a train, do that train to Piccadilly and get about 4 buses and then walk 2 miles, or I need to go to my parents and get a lift with them. So it's just on a practical note, I think moving into Manchester is so important. And I think we've seen it with Chelsea moving hopefully more games from Kingsmeadow, Arsenal moving more games away from Boreham Wood. It's the natural direction of things. And I think long may it continue.
And Keris isn't wrong with what she's saying about the sound at all. She's really not, because that's what I was saying in terms of the atmosphere is going to be big, and it is going to be grand when you are filling out LSB. But I would prefer to see it as the challenge, because we've all seen what Old Trafford's like on a big European night. We've all seen what Old Trafford's like at a derby. And I'm telling you now, the girls deserve more than 10,000 people cheering their name. If they can have 70,000 people sat in a stadium and still have that level of support and a cauldron of noise like that with 70,000 voices, I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's even better. Just get more money. Which is what the women's team wants, surely.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Like I said, I'm kind of somewhere in the middle, because I agree. I think some games this season I've wanted purposely at LSV for that reason, that you can create a bit more of an atmosphere in there. And I don't think our ticket sales this season have been good enough to warrant move. Even the derby, as good as that was, it was a record for Old Trafford. I was like, that's still lower than what I thought it was going to be for that day. I don't know what the ticket sales like for this weekend, but it doesn't look great on online either. But as I just said, the only way of doing
40,000.
That's literally what I just said.
4 times more than LSV, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a Manchester derby, though. I would argue you would sell at LSV anyway. I agree. In terms of the only way of doing it for me is you've got to have more there. Otherwise, like I said, if you have one-offs, that's all it's going to be. It's a one-off. Whereas if you have more there, the only reason Arsenal do it so well, one is because their marketing is excellent. I agree with that. The way that they've pushed their women's team is amazing. But also because they kept doing it. They didn't start out having sellout crowds at the Emirates. They had to, it was 20,000, it was 30, then they hit 40, then they had the first sellout. And now look, like most games they have there, are close to sellouts and thing up, because they keep doing it. And I agree with what Barry said. I think we can do it. Just on the LSV thing, someone, I don't know whether they would say who it is, but someone was at LSV today. That's currently the pitch. So I don't know whether that's going to focus on my phone
What's
or
going on? It's not focusing at all, mate. It's
Oh,
blurry.
whatever.
It looks like a photo from the 70s.
Anyway, it's currently not grass. So, yeah, the
That
Ella
makes me really sad.
Yeah, it's.
I remember once I did the stadium tour at Old Trafford, and they took the bloody pitch out. I was like 9, and I was devastated. It's like you're taking like the kids to look around Old Trafford, and there's no pitch. It was horrible. It's just a
Honestly,
building site.
That's literally what it looks like, NT. For those of you who did see that picture, it's just sand. It's just yeah, all gravel and everything else. So thanks to the person who sent me that photo. That's literally today, which is quite sad. I agree with you, Keris, on that one. Right. Player of the match, score predictions. It's because I was looking at the player of the season poll, the player of the season things. Right, what's your score predictions for Saturday, and what we all saying on this one? Oh, I'm torn. My head's telling me one thing and my heart another on this.
We're gonna win. I'm gonna leave it at that, because if I just say 2-1, I'm just saying that because it's a close one. We're gonna win.
I think we will win. I can't bring myself to predict anything other than a win because I just hate the thought of it so much. Everyone's saying 2-2 in the chat. You all need to stop being so negative. We are going to win.
I'll take that and all.
Everyone's going for a draw here.
Well, yeah, but you don't want to draw, really, do you? Everyone's coming out with this 2-2.
Anything but a loss, like a draw in a game that for us really means nothing.
Yeah,
I'd be quite content with, because that means that even the mighty Chelsea weren't able to put us to the sword when they really, really needed to, and we didn't care. If anything, that's an even better flex. The fact that we can go wandering around, you know, we didn't even care and you still couldn't beat us. That would be unreal.
Go on, Kara. Say 2-2 now. You know you want to.
I don't know. I'm gonna stick with 3-2, even though my heart's telling me 3-2. My head is telling me it will probably be like 1-1 or something.
Yeah.
But I'll go 3-2. Can you imagine if it's like a 0-0 draw?
I was thinking is because on another podcast they were talking about like the goal difference between Man City and Chelsea, and they were like, oh, it might turn into a score fest between Chelsea and City. What if we both we beat Chelsea and then City lose to Villa? It just ends up being the most like depressing final day for the top two. But one of them ends up winning it.
Imagine that if Chelsea win on goal difference, but neither side won. I mean, honestly, I don't really see that. No, I wouldn't. I would hate that. I think if that happens, that is the worst advert for women's football at the end of it. The title contest losing, that would be horrific. And Joey Barton would be eating out on that for the next 6 months. No, God, no. One of them's got to. I'd rather have Chelsea win. I can't even believe I just said that because they got to beat us. No, I wouldn't rather have Chelsea win. They can go away. City can win. No, Chelsea aren't beating us.
No, I'm with you. I think we can. Well, we can beat them, and we can actually say that now. Now we have beaten them this season. So, yeah, I think we will. I think 3-2 is probably about right. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet because we just don't against Chelsea, and they're going to be up for it. They will go. If we're beating them, like it was bad enough at LSV in the semi-final, it will be very much like that. But I think with more, because obviously they're really going to want this title. More than anything, obviously with Hayes' last game as well. The semi-final wasn't a last game. They will give everything, I think. So if we're a goal up, expect some firepower to come our way, I think, on that one. Right. There's a lot of 3-1s in the chat as well. There we go. We'll round it off there. Before we do, I'll just add this to our StreamYard thing while I've brought it on screen, if I can find it. You can win one of these. We teamed up with, I'm going to get their name wrong here. Let me just get their actual name. Pixel Print Design. Literally, all you have to do, follow our Twitter account, retweet the post that we put. I'm going the wrong way. Retweet the post that we put, tweet in that. That's literally it. Follow us, follow Pixel Design, and you can win that. It's to be fair, I did say to him, if I don't win it, I'm buying it anyway. And it's going to go up somewhere over there once I read it.
Whoa, you can't enter, surely.
Stop me. I'll do it on my personal account.
Stop you? All right, if you insist.
I assumed I couldn't enter, but I'm going to enter now.
Well, it's not off the. It's a random. We don't pick it. It's Pixel Design that are picking it. So
Yeah, but Connor, are you genuinely telling me that you've just put in a competition like that, and if you win it, you're going to go, yeah, I'm having that? You wouldn't go, I'm going to put that back in there for one of our loyal watchers to come and get. Of course you would. I know you better than that, Connor.
yeah. I couldn't do it. Well, for people who know from the Predictions League last year, I actually came in the top 3 and I dropped my prize down. So for those of you like NC saying trying to cheat us, I actually gave away even more money last season because I should have won something. I didn't. I dropped the prizes down and then it came out of my pocket. So
you got me for another year.
Exactly. There we go.
That did not sound as good as I wanted it to.
Oh, hang on, what's this? Oh, okay. Wow. Anyway, probably should have read that on here. But yes, there we are. Right, we'll wrap it up there. Make sure you're liking the video, subscribing, all of that good stuff. I'll probably do another TikTok live tomorrow. I'm not going to do it tonight now because I have a chat. I said I might do another one after this. I won't. I'll do it tomorrow. If you see us about on Saturday, come up and say hello. Obviously, it's the last chance. We've had so many people that we've met over the last kind of couple of weeks. It's been absolutely amazing.
Connor, when you eating your burger?
Saturday, I think.
Oh, yes.
It's happening at Old Trafford, I think.
That's the thing that matters the most. I can't wait for this video. When it comes out, I swear to God, that's getting edited, done, sorted, bosh, out there. It's going to be such a good moment.
Yeah, it's good. So that's happening on Saturday as well. So if you see me about, you might get to see that live in person.
Yes, get people in the concourse to watch him eat it.
Can you imagine? Live on TikTok. Can you imagine, Simon?
Oh, yes, do it live.
I'll go live on TikTok.
Yes, he loves a TikTok live.
Oh, that could. Oh, to be fair, maybe we'll do that.
Oh, God,
yes,
that's amazing. Yes,
so yes, you might see that, but yes, follow the TikTok at allforunitedwfc. We're on Instagram as well at allforunitedwfc. You can follow us across all of those things and the Twitter account as well. As I said, I've tweeted out the thing, the player of the season, the goal of the season. Make sure you go and do it on there. You get 2 votes per category, so give us 2 names for player, 2 goals for the goal of the season one. Oh God, the hype grow. This is going to be quite something on Saturday, isn't it? No chance. It probably will end up being something like that. I don't know what they've got organised for me, but all I know is it's probably happening on Saturday. But there we go. Barry is live on the men's channel, literally in 4 minutes, I believe, unless I've just advertised that wrong. But there we go. There we go. Obviously, talking about yesterday's win, the men's team actually won a game, believe it or not. At Old Trafford as well. Who would have thought? I can't lie. When Newcastle scored towards the end, I was thinking, "Oh no, here we go again." We're gonna throw
I turned my notifications off. I was leaving work and I'd seen we were ahead, so I hadn't been able to watch it. And then I got that second goal notification. I was just like, "No, I'm not doing it." I went to the pub and then I was pleasantly surprised later when I saw we'd actually managed to hang on.
Honestly, so that makes Barry's show a little bit easier to talk about on that one.
You can do a burger song. You can do a burger, and you could do it to the Pizza Hut song tune. It would go great. Like, no knife and fork, no knife and fork, got greasy hands, but no knife and fork, no knife and fork, no knife and fork, got greasy hands, but no knife and fork. He spilled it. I'm going to work on that, but I'm so excited.
I can't believe this. So it's going to be a great few days for the channel, for the team, for everything. As we said, it's been a good old scene. I'll save my little speech for Monday's show at 7 o'clock. So yes, come back Monday 7 o'clock from a YouTube point of view. Obviously, we're discussing about the Chelsea game. It won't be a season review. We'll do that on a different show. But we've got lots to look forward to. As I said, obviously a lot of transfer stuff coming up, contracts and the various like of. There was a lot of people in the chat having a bit of a go at me saying, "I wish you could just say, I wish I could as well," but I just don't do that. I said on TikTok earlier, I hint at things in the hope that you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. So that's where I'll leave it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe if you're new around here. Have a great weekend all, and we shall see you guys next week.